it's Commissioner Arrington, and I'm here at Trout Lake with my good friend Ricky Booth. And today we're going to run around the waters and have a wonderful, nonpartisan conversation.
Absolutely.
About a lot of great things happening in Osceola County. Get to learn a little bit more about Ricky and also learn a little bit about flood control here in Osceola County. So thanks so much for tuning in. Let's get on the water. I'm always amazed, Ricky, and I'm sure you are too, growing up here, just the availability of the biodiversity and the amount of lakes and waterways that we have available to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you go from north to south, right? You can go, you're here at Trout, we're pretty far north. You could go in AJ, obviously Fells Cove, East Lake on the northeast part of the county, and then all the way down to like Lake Marion and the Kissimmee River.
Yeah.
On the southern part of the county, Lake Kissimmee. Beautiful, beautiful places down there. With amazing areas like Brammer Island, which the Lizzie family owns. I mean, just an amazing story they have. So yeah, from one end to the other, we just have all these amazing waterways, fishing, right, boating, jet skiing, wakeboarding. From top to bottom, Osceola's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is. We were hoping to get Ricky on a wakeboard or two today, but he was smart enough to wear jeans, so we wouldn't make that happen. So
yeah, not happening today. It's been a long time. I can wakeboard.
There you go.
But it's been probably 15 years.
All right, that might be another episode where we try and get our old selves out there.
Yeah. We have at the county now this initiative to upgrade all of our boat ramps around the county, and most of the work is actually being done in the St. Cloud area.
No, it is.
So like at Lake Gentry, here at Trout, I believe, down at Lake Kissimmee, we've got a lot of things going on down there. So we've got a ton of work happening right here in the county on our boat ramps to make them more accessible with more amenities and more parking.
Yeah, I know the parking's really been one of our issues at some of our southern boat ramps. And also, as you said, a lot of those boat ramps have deteriorated. There's nothing worse than trying to put your boat in and falling in a big fish hole where the boat ramp ends and your boat's all lopsided. So it's a great investment by the county, that's for sure.
And of course, the city of St. Cloud has done a ton of work.
They have.
Their marina.
They have. They've got a beautiful lakefront. We're going to be actually shooting down there real soon.
Nice.
So looking forward to kind of highlighting what goes on there. And FWC just did a major restoration in East Lake as well. So had a chance to get out and see that. I don't know if you've gone out and see all of their new plantings and some of the muck removals and stuff they've got on the east side. It's spectacular work, and I know they're continuing to try and find opportunities to help us out with some of our other lakes, because it's you and I both know how bad Westlake has gotten.
There's nothing partisan about trying to get the hydrilla out of Big Lake Toho.
Well said.
And I think we're going to keep. I know you're part of that fight. I know Commissioner Grieve has certainly been a part of that fight. I'm going to be a part of that fight as well. I don't think there's anything partisan about cleaning up Westlake.
That's great. And you know what a lot of people don't realize too, with the invasive plants in our waterways, how that actually takes away from capacity and storage opportunities. And I know you've dealt firsthand with a lot of flood issues on our last major storm, where we saw a 500-year rain event happen here in Osceola County and throughout the state of Florida as well. And so you were dealing with that firsthand. And I know at St. Cloud, my community was impacted, and I know some of your communities over here. Talk a little bit about what that was like, and because I mean, for an Osceola County native to see that much water, I know I had never seen that much water.
No, I had never seen that much water. We're talking about Hurricane Ian back in October of 23, I guess now. Where we had 20 inches of rain. We didn't have. I think I was at the St. Cloud Emergency Management Center. I think their highest wind gust was like 58 miles an hour. Yeah. So not really a wind event. We can get that in a summertime thunderstorm.
Exactly.
Right? But the amount of water that came from north.
Yeah.
You know, it's important for people to understand that all this water is flowing south in this chain. Now look, a very small part of Osceola flows north to the St. John's.
That's right.
But most of Osceola, including this chain, is all flowing south. And that water is going from here into the Kissimmee River, and then all the way to the Everglades eventually. But that water was coming down too fast. 25 inches of rain in Volusia County, parts of Volusia, parts of Orange County. And again, the storage was just not here. So if it wasn't for our vast amount of land to the south, in the south part of the central and southern part of the county, where we could hold that water. And on our cattle ranch, we ended up holding quite a bit of water.
I bet.
And now have a water storage project with the South Florida Water Management District, not just for water storage for flood events, but to actually clean the water before it goes down. But this lake, in this chain, trout, alligator, brick, gentry, it was a change in flow, right? Most of that Mary Jane water goes around into AJ, into Fells Cove, and through East Lake with one outlet on the other side at Brown Chapel. So now they were able to change the flow and bring that water through this chain and go a different route. And if they wouldn't have been able to do that, we would have seen, I mean, there's estimates of about 15,000 houses in and around St. Cloud that would have been flooded if we were not able to, the Army Corps of Engineers weren't able to pump this water through this chain and take it down through Gentry into Cypress and then into Kissimmee. So it was a lot of amazing work and a lot of amazing engineering.
That's great.
I'm proud to be a part of.
Oh, that's awesome. And you know, it's funny, we don't think about the canals that connect all these lakes from that standpoint. A lot of times we as boaters see them as just connectivity between lake to allow you to move around. And that's why I want to make sure we go out, check out some of those canals so people get to see the connectivity and as to your point, what that connectivity looks like all the way up to Orange County. And then depending on the lock system, if you're able to work around the locks, you can get all the way down to Okeechobee.
That's true.
Right? So, I mean, I'll tell you what, Ricky, let's take a run. Let's go check out one of those canals so we can let people see a little bit more, all right?
Let her rip, Brandon.
All right, brother. Your family's been here 5-6 generations now?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Since the 1840s, I think it settled in the East Orange County area around Fort Christmas, and that's my mother's family, the Parton family.
Okay, great. So, I mean, you guys know about the history of land ownership here in Osceola County. And,
quite a bit, sure.
And one of the things that people don't realize is the Deseret Ranch and how much of they actually have in Osceola County.
That's right.
And how much water storage they have, and some of these lakes that haven't been touched by man as well, which is kind of amazing. So
that's true. And as you can see on Trout Lake, a ton of this lake has not been developed.
It is.
And I think our land development code prevents some large-scale developments from happening around our lake shores, which is good.
It is. It's definitely a different approach we've taken, trying to keep homes off of the water and making, I mean, we've got some that are using those boat lifts that create the canals, but it's not putting so many homes on the waterway as well, which is great. I think
we do need some homes on the waterway.
We do. I mean,
we want those folks. We want some of that money to come into Osceola.
We sure do. And those are great properties to have.
But yeah, it's a balance you have to strike.
It is
between the environment, the water quality, the usage of the lakes, the number of folks that are on the lakes, and maintaining that biodiversity and protecting our waterway.
So Ricky, it's fun being out here on these canals, and as you were saying, not having any of that development around is pretty awesome to see. And how much ranch land is still around all of our waterways is kind of unbelievable.
Absolutely, and that's a good point. The canal system that's in place was actually originally intended to help agriculture.
Right.
You know, when you're talking 100, 150 years ago, distant in St. Cloud, right? Digging some of these canals was just to try to drain some land from seasonal flooding. You know, we get a lot of rain between June and September, so that's the original intent. And then as people moved in and as Florida began a big boom, that's when the canals were looked at as more of a drainage system.
Sure.
For development, right? And not just for agriculture. So certainly there's a huge benefits to agriculture. I mean, there's thousands of acres that we have in production now, not only in Osceola, but around the state, that are only in production because of the canal system.
Yeah.
But now we're starting to take a step back and say, okay, we were sending this water south too fast and didn't have enough time to release some of those nutrients that cause the algae blooms in Lake Okeechobee and the Caloosahatchee and the St. Lucie. So now we're starting to take a step back and say, okay, how do we hold some of this water longer? We want the plants to take up some of those nutrients and not cause that bloom. So I serve on the Water Coalition as our representative, and that's certainly top of mind for everybody. How do we make the water cleaner as it moves down south? And we've got some great projects happening, not just in Osceola, but down the chain, right, to keep that water clean. So we are in the dry time, and normally maybe 100 years ago or 150 years ago, before these canals were, all these lakes would be way, way down, and they would expose a lot of the land in and around the lakes and the creeks. Usually these canals are built on natural creeks. And then in the summertime, it'd fill back
Right
up, and it was up and down, and we when you have this many people, they decided a long time ago, when you have this many people, this many residents living in Orange County or northern Osceola County, or down around the coast like you're talking about, you have to be able to control the levels, because you don't want to be flooding someone's home.
Well, and Ricky, you're talking about water purification, and a lot of people don't think about that when we talk about our lakes, but people don't realize, and it's something I know you argue for statewide, is people forget we're the headwaters of the Everglades up here.
Right.
We've seen massive amounts of funding for down south to deal with the Everglades, and then I know we as a county continue to fight to remind people that we're the top, and we need to make sure funding's available to us as well. And if we're not doing our part, then it's just going to continue to toxify, if you will, the water down south as well. So it's all really important. And did you think as a commissioner you'd be spending this much time talking about water and dealing with water when you got
listening
elected?
to Commissioner Grebe for years as I served on the school board. I mean, she really was the Big Lake Toho champion.
Yeah, she was.
And still is.
Yeah,
it's not
she's
that
definitely still involved. You two are definitely our water commissioners.
But, water and environmental quality isn't nonpartisan, right? There might be arguments across the aisle about how to best do it. But everybody wants to get to the top of that mountain, which is clean water, healthy fish population.
Yep.
Right. We want to make sure we're sending down south, as little contaminants as we can. I think we're all in on that, and actually make sure that agriculture is still protected as well, because as our community grows, as our country grows, as our world grows, we got to be able to feed people.
That's right.
Right. So we can't just limit and get rid of all of our agriculture. We've got to make sure that we're maintaining what we have, and make sure we're helping those folks be as clean and efficient as they can be. And look, I'm part of the agriculture community. We want to be part of the solution, and I think we have been part of the solution.
That's good. That's wonderful. No, it is such an important part, as you said, we all play, whether it's from agricultural usages or spraying fertilizers on your lawn, right?
That's right.
We're all adding to it, so we've got to all do our part. I'll tell you what, Ricky, let's run on down. We're going to head on over to Buck Lake now.
All right.
Let's learn a little bit more about your agricultural background, if you don't mind.
Do it.
Awesome. When I was younger, my brother and I, we worked in the summers as surveyors, and we were able to buy a jet ski when we were young, and we used to take that out. And I always remember going out after, especially on Wednesdays, short school days, we'd take it out over on Fish Lake and run around and all that. And it's just great having something to be out on the water. Doesn't have to be amazing, doesn't have to be fancy, but I always find getting out here is just kind of a calming mechanism, and really, really almost a mini vacation, if you will.
And I don't know what the number is, Brandon, but if you live anywhere in Osceola County, you cannot live too far from a lake.
Yeah, that's very true. That is true.
I don't know if it's a half a mile or something, but if you live in Osceola County, you live pretty daggone close to a lake somewhere. You don't have to have a boat to enjoy the lakes.
That's right.
Right? There's a lot of public access to a ton of our waterways, a ton of our lakes that don't require having a boat.
That's right.
Right? And I think you've already done one of these stories out at Shingle Creek.
We did.
Where you have access to a kayak at non-motorized options as well. So you don't have to own a boat.
Yeah.
I don't own a boat anymore.
Yeah.
And you don't have to own one to enjoy our waterways.
Oh man, well Ricky, we're heading in here to Buck Lake, another little small lake here on the alligator chain. And here again, that's probably one of these, you probably didn't make it up too much too, I wouldn't think. Because when you're younger, we always ran on alligator, we ran on gentry. And unless you were just showing people around, you didn't always make it up here, so.
Nope, these folks had their own little paradise right here, still do, by the way.
They sure do.
If you look at this beautiful water's edge here, about half of it, you have these beautiful homes, and then the other half is still pine trees and cattails, and
and a lot of this property I've looked at is state owned around this chain, and we've even got the Lake Lizzie Preserve as well.
That's right.
Maybe try and run by there and show people the vantage point from the lake, which is another great way to get out and explore some trails and then end up at the lake as well. I remember going out to the Gentry when I was a kid, and there seemed to be more alligators in that lake than any lake in Osceola County. I don't know if that was the case with you experienced.
There's still a ton of alligators in Gentry. Yeah.
Is it?
Absolutely, 100%.
Well, cool, Ricky. I'll tell you what, let's run around a little bit of this and maybe head down to Lake Lizzie. How's that sound?
Lake Lizzie, all right, let's do it.
Awesome. your degree, I believe, your degree's in ag?
Yeah, I graduated in 2001 from the University of Florida. Go Gators! College of Agriculture, Animal Sciences is what they called it.
Okay.
You can specialize, and I specialized in beef.
Okay.
And so that's what my degree's in, and I'm glad and happy I still get to use that degree today.
That works out well.
But the best thing about the college experience was meeting all the folks that I got to meet, doing the internship that I got to do in central Montana.
That's awesome.
And I still remain friends with
How
that
long were you
family.
out there for?
I was out there for about 3 months.
Okay.
And it was an amazing, working on a cattle ranch in Montana, just amazing.
That had to
It was
be awesome.
It was like living Yellowstone,
Yeah.
25 years in advance.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. That's really fantastic. Now, and I know you and I have talked before about, and gosh, Ricky, I know I'm
GMOs?
Yes. Talk to us a little bit about that and what that means
I think
to you as a rancher. And
we do breed for higher quality cattle, right? So, but
that
we
makes
do that
sense,
by
right?
cattle that produce the best. We want to retain those offspring is the easiest way to do it. And so,
a lot of people think it's just modern science, but selectiveness has been around forever, right?
Genetic selection has been around.
How y'all doing?
The first recorded, and I learned this in my genetics class.
Okay.
Had a great genetics professor in college. Shout out to Dr. Olson at the University of Florida. I still remain in contact with him. But yeah, there's some data from the 1500s in Scotland, and I believe it was Scotland where the Angus breed came from.
Yep.
Like begets like, right?
Yeah.
So that they started to realize that, breeding the cattle that perform the best at your operation, at your ranch, if you can propagate those offspring from those cattle and move your operation forward like that. So it goes back that far. That was kind of the first time people started really looking into and recording. And look, I'm sure that somebody can come back and say, well, the Egyptians were doing this too,
Sure.
4,000 years. I'm sure they were.
I'm sure they were too, yeah.
But the first data we kind of have in cattle production goes back that far to England, Scotland.
Okay.
A lot of good history of the cattle breeding from that area, because obviously we imported, Angus, Hereford. Those were English breeds, and those are the two main breeds in the United States today.
We're here on Lake Lizzie now, and we're looking off in the distance. We can see Lake Lizzie Preserve as well,
Absolutely.
which is pretty awesome. And we as a commission have put that land program back on the ballot.
Okay.
And so that's going to be exciting, right? If it gives us opportunity, if the voters approve it.
The voters are going to tell us what they want us to do.
That's right.
100%.
That's right. And it's been a great program for the last 20, 25 years now, and allowed the county to buy properties like that, where we've been able to keep it in that natural state.
Yep.
And I know you've got quite a few of those in District 5, some of those natural land programs.
And a ton of
as well.
state land too.
Yeah, ton of state land. That's true.
Ton of the county programs. And certainly, look, we're on one of the most beautiful, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful lakes in the county, which is Lake Lizzie.
Yeah.
Nothing against the other lakes, but this one, there's something about this one that I've always loved. And being able to know that we're preserving this side of it here is just amazing. So next generation is going to get to enjoy this too, and that's amazing.
That is, and that's something I know your family's been here a long time, and we deal with a lot of growth, and it's something we're dealing with. But to your point, being able to have that purchase for the county and be able to utilize it for everybody else not only helps the lake itself, but really helps the enjoyment of the lake for other people that get to utilize it as well. So
100%. And we want people to get out and fish. We want kids to get into fishing, because there's a reason we push kids to get out and enjoy these lakes. It's because we know they're going to be the stewards, the next generation of stewards, right? And we need them to understand the work that we have to do to continue to protect this, to protect the fishery, to protect the water quality, to protect people's homes around it. I mean, there's a lot of balancing that goes into that, and we want to continue being a big part of what Osceola County's future is going to be.
That's right.
So, and my kids are obviously enjoy. I love having them on the cow crew when it comes time, and they're going to go off and do their thing too as well, and explore, and have their college experiences. But I hope they come back too, because I know when I think about, as a dad of daughters who are of age now. I start thinking about, when they get married, I want to be around those kids too. How lucky my mom was,
right?
My mom's mom was to be around all of their grandkids all the time.
Right.
And so I would love to have that experience too.
No, I know you grew up working with your grandparents on the ranch as well, and I have a similar thing where I grew up farming with my grandparents as well. So, and it's always a great time to get out and spend time with not only your loved ones and that extra generation, but get to learn a little bit about what the process looked like, how the land was in their time, and just how the different techniques have evolved over the years as well. And it's not a lot of folks. It's interesting today. I don't feel like a lot of agricultural families continue that agricultural lineage. It's really interesting.
When I'm traveling, and whether I'm in Montana or whether I'm in Kansas or Missouri or anywhere around the country, you hear about this, the kids don't want it. The kids have moved to town and they're taking an office job, or Johnny became a lawyer and he moved to Chicago, or Janie's moving to Atlanta. She'd rather live in the big city. I get it.
Yeah,
it's a tough job. But I think the family farms, we got to continue to do what, not just in Osceola or the state of Florida, but all around the nation to protect those family farms, because they're vital to our nation. We don't want all these agriculture lands being bought up by just groups of folks.
Yeah, giant
being able to kind of corner or control a market. We don't want to do that. We want to keep that economic diversity as well.
No,
in the ag industry.
It's a great point. I mean, the conglomerate purchase of agricultural land over the last 20 to 30 years has been a big thing, and it is important to have those.
Bill Gates, largest landowner in the United States, now largest private landowner. Certainly, we don't want our adversaries like the Communist Party of China coming in and buying up agricultural land, and I think we're doing a good job of making sure that's not going to happen. But yeah, family farms need to be a big part of the United States going forward. And I don't think there's nothing partisan about that.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, food production is a key to every community survival.
It may be the key.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have food, if you don't have fresh water, if you don't have a quality water source, and you don't have fresh food,
straight up,
you cease to exist. That is the number one thing.
No, that's a very good point. And and I think a lot of times we take for granted our environment here in our community, and just the to your point, the water, the availability of water we have in Osceola County, not only from a lake standpoint, from a groundwater standpoint as well, that really kind of sets us apart. I always feel like to other,
and we need to protect that.
We do, and that's key. And like you said,
protect our access to it.
We do, and we've got to make sure we keep our groundwater safe and clean, and don't get turbidity or coming in and saltwater intrusion happening at those lower levels. But it's of such importance, and it's always been so much to me just to be able to be out on the water and be out on our lakes. A lot of people love to go out and fish and run around the ocean, but I've always enjoyed being the fresh. I do like the fresh water. I'll be honest with you. It just feels home for me, I guess.
Is there anywhere else that has as many beautiful freshwater lakes like this? I don't know. Yeah, I was thinking about that before we did this today. Like, where can you go where there's this many beautiful lakes that you can get on? You can whether you want to fish, whether you want to wakeboard, whether you just want to just hang out on a Sunday afternoon.
Good running around with you, checking out Osceola County, educating people a little bit more about what's out here and what's going on. So I really do appreciate you coming out.
Glad to do it, Brandon. And one thing that I think is very important is that what we need to understand, do a better job in the United States and Florida and our county and everywhere, disagreement is not hate.
That's right,
brother. And we've got to do a better job of making sure that we can fight for the things and stand up for the things that we believe in. But we do have to all come together as Americans and do the right thing. So enjoy being out here with you today.
I appreciate it, brother.
Yep. Thank you.
Great time for two Osceola boys to get out and spend on the water, getting to learn a little bit more about you, learning about flood control here in Osceola County. Thanks so much for tuning in. You can always learn more about Osceola County and our boat ramps at osceola.org, or find out what's going on at my socials at Arrington 40C. Thanks so much for tuning in. Y'all have a great day, and I hope to see you on the water.